Okay, hello everybody, welcome to the next episode in the series of Switching to Linux. In this episode we're going to go over how to pick which Linux distribution to try out first. Now, like I showed you in that big flowchart or whatever, not flowchart, whatever that thing's called. You know what I mean. There's a lot of different Linux distributions to pick from. There's so many. But luckily for you, there's only a couple that really make sense to pick as a distro that you would really want to use, because in my opinion at least, most Linux distributions are just complete memes. Like, because of the fact that Linux is open source and anyone can make a distro, there's a lot of distros that are just complete memes and are just useless, and you would never use them as your main OS in your computer. So we're going to go over a couple that I've picked out that I think would be good to start with. The first one is Arch Linux. Now, Arch Linux is not always the best choice for a first distro, especially if you're new to Linux. But if you're really into computers, like you love learning about computers, you love tinkering with your computer and all this stuff, and you want to get as customized of an experience as you possibly can, then Arch Linux will be a good choice. It's very small, very efficient, lightweight, and as you can see, the download size is only about 700 megabytes. Compared to Windows, I think Windows is like 4 gigabytes. So it's very small. Once you install it, it basically comes with nothing installed. It doesn't come with a GUI. It doesn't come with too many tools installed or anything. So Arch Linux is what you would use if you really want to build your system from the ground up and squeeze the most customizability out of it as you possibly can. Like I said, maybe not a good choice for first distro, but it's a great distro. It's a good one to know about, and it's the one I use. So I figured I had to mention it. Now on to ones that might actually be a better choice for a first distro. We have Debian. Now Debian has been around a long time, and many different Linux distributions are based off of it. It's very stable. There's a lot of people using it or using distros based on it, so it gets a lot of support. It gets a lot of eyes looking at it. So does Arch Linux, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Arch Linux has really good support, and even if you don't use Arch Linux, if you go to the Arch Wiki, it has a lot of good information about various Linux things. Obviously, some of it is Arch Linux specific, but there's a lot of good stuff on the Arch Wiki, so if you need help with Linux stuff, that's a good place to look first. So you can see there's some. Actually, yeah, let's see what Debian has to say for itself, why you should use it. Yep, it's free software. Most Linux is free software. That's kind of one of the main points of it. It's stable and secure, has extensive hardware support, smooth upgrades. It's the seed and base for many other distributions. It's got multiple install options. It's even got enterprise options. It's just got all sorts of different stuff that you can do with it. Okay, then we have Manjaro. Manjaro is based on Arch Linux, so you get some of the benefits that you would get with Arch Linux, like the AUR, which I forgot to mention in the Arch Linux section. But basically the AUR is a way to get software easily, and it's pretty specific to Arch Linux. Not many other distros have something like it. Ubuntu has something like it, but it's awful. So you can get that. It comes in different versions. If you go to the download section, you can get XFCE, KDE, GNOME. These are desktop environments. So basically what the interface looks like. And if you want to get a little more advanced, you can get the architect version, which will let you do some more advanced customization. But if you pick one of these, you can just install it and be off on your way. So you can see we got the features section. So you can look through this. I'm not gonna like go to every distro and like talk about every little feature about it, because most of these pages have information that you can read about them, but I'm just kind of bringing them to your attention so you know kind of where to look when you're considering which one you want. Next we have Fedora. Now Fedora is not a distro I've used myself before, but the creator of the Linux kernel uses Fedora, so you know it must be good. It's got a lot of different options. They have these things called spins, which are kind of similar to what Manjaro does, where they offer pre-configured editions for it, so you can pick which desktop environment you want. What's on? Wait, back. Yeah, so you can see editions, help. They got their own wiki, so that's an option to look into. And then we have PopOS. PopOS is made by System 76, which they actually make hardware too. They make I don't know if it's open source, but they make like hardware that comes, I think it is actually open source. They make like laptops and desktops that come with pretty much all open source stuff. They have open source, they come with PopOS, an open source operating system. And they even have things like open source BIOSes and stuff. So that's pretty cool. The only thing is because they're relatively new to the computer game. At least I think so. I think they are. Their computers are pretty expensive. So like if we just take a look at laptops, yeah, they're pretty. I mean, actually, 40 gigabytes of memory. Okay, well maybe, yeah, that's a lot, but a lot of money. But I mean, for the price, let's get like a cheaper. I mean, well, I guess, because I mean that is not, that's not exactly a cheap laptop, but I mean it. I mean, for the specs you get, it's good stuff, good price. So yeah, I guess if you're considering a new computer and maybe, I don't know, but yeah, so that's cool. But what about PopOS itself? It's a pretty user-friendly distro. It's a popular distro for gaming because it comes with Steam and has good support with Steam and stuff. Uh, Manjaro also works well with Steam. It actually comes with Steam pre-installed. So if you want to be using that, then you could, yeah, it's listed right here, gaming. Steam Lutris, which is another game thing. Not really too familiar with that, but that and Game Hub create an incredible gaming experience. So, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't talk a lot about the specifics of each thing because I didn't want to just make a video of me just reading like, you know, I could just go to this website and just read this whole thing out to tell you information about it, but you know, it's right here. You can read it yourself. Here's the URL. You can go to it yourself. The main point of this video is to just not necessarily teach you about all the options, but just show you what options exist. So, pick whatever distro you want, and then in future videos, I'm just gonna assume that you've picked one and installed it because most of these. Oh yeah, PopOS can even come with the NVIDIA drivers, which is pretty handy. Um, Not that NVIDIA drivers are that hard to install, although a lot of people seem to disagree. Uh, you just install it like any other software, and it just kind of installs, and then you have the NVIDIA drivers. Woo! But I don't know. Some people get their pants in a twist about the NVIDIA drivers, like, oh, they're terrible. They don't work. And I think that's because like previously they used to work really bad, but I've never had any problems with them. So now that I've successfully started that flame war in the comments, we're gonna end it right there.